Welcome, wonderful listeners, to the Shadow and Starlight Podcast, where two friends dive deep into popular fantasy and romantasy books. We get into the stories, characters, world building, lore, and more. And most importantly, we will have a damn good time while doing it.
Yes, so buckle your seatbelts for this wild roller coaster ride of emotions, magical worlds, and laughs. I'm Kinsey.
I'm Kana.
And today we're covering chapters 19 through 36 of When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker.
First and foremost, please listen carefully to our content warning. These are adult books, especially in this stretch of chapters. Hint, hint, wink, wink. And neither of us have a filter, so this podcast is rated R and for those 18 plus. Regarding spoilers, if you have not finished the entire When the Moon Hatched book, please finish it and come back to us later. We'll be there for you. While we are discussing this stretch of chapters, we will be doing so with the perspective of what happens in the entire book. This helps us dive deeper into the theories as well as appreciate the masterful foreshadowing of Sarah A. Parker. So going forward, all episodes on the show will contain spoilers for the whole series in question.
Yes, and next, if you like what you hear today and want more, please come back next Thursday, and next Thursday, and next Thursday, and every Thursday after that for a new episode. As a baby podcast, we'd love to hear your feedback to better ourselves and expand our book-loving community. Please feel free to give us reviews, reach out to us on social media, and follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and watch us on YouTube at Shadow and Starlight Pod.
Yes. No major announcements today. Just a reminder that we are starting our coverage of Quicksilver by Callie Hart on October 10th. So if you have not started it, now would be a good time. I loved it. It's a portal fantasy, which I haven't read before, and it wasn't too confusing. The world building's a little bit easier than When the Moon Hatched. It has a shadow daddy, enemies to lovers, delicious banter, and I love it. I cannot wait to talk about it. So read it now if you haven't yet, so you can follow along with us on our coverage of it.
Yep. And to kick off our episode today, Kana is going to lead us through our Shadow and Starlight synopsis, aka her unhinged summary detailing the events of these chapters.
And I hope y'all are ready because it's 10 o'clock and I'm cracked up on coffee and fantasy. So here we go. All right. We kick off this stretch of chapters with Raeve. Well, she's in jail. On a much more real note, our girl is down bad. She befriends an adorable Woto named Rook, and again, as a woman of the people, she gives him her meal. How cute. Trying not to lose her mind from the pain and isolation, she bides her time with a rich imagination until Mr. Sexy Smokin' Stone shows up, and oh shit, we realize he is a king. First of his name, Melter of Hearts, King of the Burn, Con freaking Vagor, everybody. But he ain't here for his woman who is dead, ? He is here for Rook, the Woto, who possesses a very important moon shard. Noticing Raeve not looking too good, he breaks into her cell, rude, and punches the wall, rude again, when he sees her state in various mending runes revealed by Dragonflame. Out of context, kind of seems like our guy needs to go to anger management. Con is eventually forced to leave, frowny face, but Rave's next task is facing her crimes. In front of the Chancellor, the Guild of Nobles, and Con, Raeve goes out with a motherfucking bang. Top highlights of the scene include Raeve shamelessly pointing out the failures of the king and, the Chancellor's microcock. Oof. Good thing that King Kadok wasn't there to hear his own insults personally. I don't think that would have went over too well. Pleading guilty to 25, not 23 murders, corrected by Raeve herself, she is sentenced to be dragon breakfast. Yikes. After being escorted back to her cell, she begins to lose hope. Losing one marble after another, she awaits her impending doom, and Con stops by again for a visit. After putting up as much fight as she had in her, she follows him at his request to meet Bia, a Rooney flesh thread. And bam, baby, you're healed. Blessed with dragon sight. Nice. Bia is shocked at the mending runes all over Rave's body. Con makes us start to fall in love with him one word at a time and reveals that he has revenge on his mind. When Bia finishes her work, the aurora is rising, meaning breakfast time for some hungry dragons and death for a very feisty assassin. No! Back in her cell, Raeve spends her final moments wondering why Con healed her, what his intentions could be, and the hot mess she's in. Uno, a member of the Fior du Off, appears, commanded by that nasty woman Serene, to get her out. Raeve knows that means someone else will die in her stead and orders her rescuer to leave. Uno reveals through her visions that the Elding and Serene will die if Raeve does not go into the Colosseum, which is very, 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 very interesting. Dragon breakfast time! Head held high, and with only a few minor regrets, such as not murdering a specific bounty hunter, she is escorted to the Colosseum. In fabulous Raeve style, she waves at the asshole elementals gathered to watch. Trying not to fucking panic, she notices the queen is struck with shock and disbelief upon seeing her, even speaking to Claude to try and scare the dragons away. Wonder why she would want to save a random assassin and supposed traitor to the crown. As the molten maws descend, a massive saber scythe touches down and appears to have a conversation with the other? Slatra, is that you in there? Taking Raeve and the stake she is tied to in his mouth, they skirt away and she blacks out from the panic. And I'm like, girl, I would have blacked out the second they took me to that Coliseum. You would have had to drag my limp noodle ass body and tie me to the stake, and I would have just been dangling there. It would have been real awkward. Raeve then awakes to wing beats, then projectile vomits everywhere after landing. Not off to a super romantic start here, because Daddy Khan is her rescuer. After the day she has had, she bursts into hysterical laughter, and we get some delicious banter. And Raeve also learns that Khan looks just like his pet, or dragon. I don't think dragons would like being called pets. They'd probably just roast you.
Yep.
After she agrees to put his murder on pause for now, he picks her up like a sack of potatoes and they take flight again, much to her protest. However, once high in the sky, Raeve feels a sense of freedom that makes her want to cry and laugh, and it's really a beautiful moment. Despite him literally saving her from becoming a dragon's meal, Raeve resolves to escape what she thinks is a tyrant and not a tall, dark, and handsome Snacc. They head for a lake in the mountains with healing properties, and Raeve is once again a sack of potatoes. A smelly sack of potatoes, according to Khan, who insists that she bathe. Pretending to be keeping an eye on him, she certainly enjoys the view, noticing the many scars, burns, and moons on his skin, one much larger than the others, Slatra, and one with a wonky little wing, Hadian and a loom. While he removes her slightly infected iron pen, we learn that he was a warrior of the Jokul clan, sent by his nasty-ass father after learning his son could only hear 2 elemental songs. Seems pretty fine to me, bro. Like, at least the 2's better than nothing. Come on. We also learn that Khan killed his father, damn, and fed him to his dragon, damn again, because he killed someone he loved. Following Khan into a small stone dwelling, his mother's retreat, Raeve is struck with a strangely warm sensation. Khan is shocked by learning her name, and the 2 share some delicious banter and some good soup until she bites his forearm. Oof. For my Akatar fans, this ain't no chapter 55, but we are almost at chapter 35, so hold on to your panties. Despite her hostility, the 2 share a laugh. Khan feeds her like a baby and escorts her to the bedroom. Despite his warning, Raeve begins the plot to escape a king and kill a bounty hunter. She tries to bury her strange feelings toward Khan in her mental lake, but the other, Slatra, chases what she discards. Hyping herself up with the knowledge that the Vagor brothers are monsters, she straddles the sleeping Khan, putting a saber-scythe scale to his throat. Just when he awakes, Slatra plays Cupid, exploding Rave's mental lake of buried emotions right back in her motherfucking face. And she is wing woman of the century, folks. The 2 share an emotional and intimate, almost sex scene, and just before touchdown, Raeve tells Khan that this does not mean anything. He flinches and shuts down the interaction quickly, ordering her back upstairs. Flushed, confused, and very sexually frustrated, Raeve fights the urge to apologize and return to Khan, and she's stronger than probably all of us would be in this situation. Yes. Spotting a window in the bedroom, she makes her hasty escape from Khan's wholesomeness. Intent on following the river, she begins to climb down a large waterfall before she is smacked with an explosion of water that causes her to fall and black out. And that's where the chapters end.
Yay! Woo. I don't know. I think this is like my favorite Shadow and Starlight synopsis so far. Harley!
For all the listeners, my cat just jumped up here and I was like, oh my god, panic.
All right, now that Kana has gone over this stretch of chapters, it's time to discuss the diary entries. I will give you a warning. Please excuse my pronunciation. I'm going to blame it on my Memphis accent. All right. In this stretch of Elowen's story, we learned that she has charmed a moon plume while fighting off the pack of Doomquills. On top of this, Hadian is permanently paralyzed. His dragon Loom may never fly because of a wonky wing. And Raeve can now hear the creators. Damn.
That's a lot.
Ostern Vagor pays her family a visit, insisting that Raeve be married to his piece of shit son, Tyroth. But her father refuses, of course, as any father should. We love you, Papa. Nabon.
You're killing the pronunciations. For all the listeners, this is our second time recording this episode today, and the first time we were just fucking dying at how she was pronouncing these things. And I realized that this section that I wrote had like the worst things to pronounce, like one after the other.
You know what? But
great,
I will give
sweetie.
props. I will give props for Sarah for the glossary because it was much needed. It was much needed.
Yes, that pronunciation guide really smacked.
Yes. Raeve works on straightening Illum's wing, hoping her first flight would make her brother happy again. And success! Haiti and Illum take flight. From this sweet high, we sink to a devastating low. Raeve is now wearing the Aether Stone, which is basically sucking her soul and silencing the other creators. Oh yeah, and her family was murdered.
I know it's not funny,
we just threw that in there.
I wrote it and I was like, oh yeah, I can't forget about that. It's pretty key to the story.
I feel like this is my third time reading this, and I'm like, dang, every time.
Yeah, it smacks every time in the wrong way.
Yeah. Illum has taken Hadean into the sky, turning into a funky looking moon. Orithia is apparently behind the times, refusing to accept a queen weakened by the Aether Stone. To rule her kingdom that is hers by birthright, she must marry someone who can hear at least 2 elemental songs. As if her whole family dying and slowly losing her soul wasn't bad enough, she cannot make her own decisions or speak on her own behalf. Her fate will be decided by the Tri-Council.
Boo.
Yeah, boo. Now that we're finished with the summary, time to head into our chapter chat section where we will discuss all notable things in this stretch of chapters, including theories, foreshadowing, and more. All right, let's start our chapter chat with a few foreshadowing moments regarding Khan and Eloin's, aka Rave's, past relationship and their interactions. So the first example that we get in this stretch of chapters is, quote, "It's you," he rumbles, and my heart drops, the hairs on the back of my neck lifting. He says, "Come forth into the light." And Raeve goes, "Who died and made you king?" I rasp past my ruined throat. And he says, "My pa."
I love that. Especially on a reread, you're like, he really wasn't lying. But
He
like on
literally
the
was
first
not
read,
lying.
you're like, okay, bro.
Yeah, like, dang, okay. I like the "it's you" part, especially, and "you" is italicized, just a refresher for everybody that's listening and watching. So our first impression, we may think that he's angry and it's more of a "it's you" kind of thing. But we know that his expression is more shocked because we know he said that he spent a while after seeing Raeve for the first time really thinking that he's gone mad because she's supposed to be dead. He saw her in the sky and her dragon fell. So, like, why are you here?
Man is going on a 23-year heartbreak that he still hasn't let go.
Literally.
Like, I know their face, so they live forever, and 23 years is probably like a blip, but still.
Yeah.
Just put that in perspective.
She's supposed to be dead, and he randomly sees her at this bar, and now she's on trial to die. So,
if I were him, I would have been like ripping off her veil, be like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, like, what are you doing?
Like staring her down.
Yeah, very. I like the mysterious part of that though. We also learn in this chapter that Khan is one of the kings and that he took his father's place after he died. And we know that Khan killed his father and fed him the Raygon, so that's fun. By this time, we know that Raeve holds a very strong dislike towards the king, in which I think that this could be like also foreshadowing to her past because these might be familiar feelings that she have towards Tyroth and Ostern. So I did wanted to highlight that.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, like how much of Eluin's past is kind of part of Rave's thinking, even when she doesn't realize it in so many ways. It's cool.
Just the familiarity of some of her feelings and like the things that she does and says is kind of cool because just maybe this is just instinct and something that you like remember from your unconsciously remember from your past life.
Yeah, like at her heart, and no matter what she's been through, it's still her.
Yeah,
it's cool.
And again, side note, we found this scene funny because we know that Khan basically made his father a dragon snack, which is also ultimately how he got his title as king. So
I would pay for that bonus chapter.
Literally, you know what? No, for real. We need that bonus
Yeah,
content.
oh God,
I would pay
have
for
so many
that.
ideas for bonus chapters. I just gotta start DMing them to Sarah Parker. She's probably gonna block me.
Literally, we need this. I will pay for this, please. Our next example is quote, I'm not usually one to take things from a female that aren't given freely, he rumbles, swinging the latch off the hook. However, your voice reminds me of somebody I used to know, and I've spent 5 sleepless slumbers convinced I'm going mad, end quote. Again.
Oh my God.
So, are you okay? We haven't even got to the juicy parts.
Panties.
Yeah, we haven't even got to the juicy parts. So hold them up. Hold them up. So we've said once before that it is evident that way back in chapter 1 in the Hungry Hollow scene, Khan had a strange reaction to Raeve. Initially, we probably think it was shock, but I'm pretty sure there was a lot of other things that he was feeling. He had this weird reaction, almost like he knew who she was. Wink, wink. Because he didn't know who she was, obviously.
Double wink, wink.
Khan has in fact not gone mad, and yes, this is your girl Raeve, aka Elowen, aka your one true love. And our next example is quote, I'm half dead already, bleeding out at your feet, can't you see, end quote.
Ugh.
So cute.
Dude, this was cute. Just like broke my heart a little because she's so mean to him, especially on a reread. You're like, something's so mean to my man. Like, I know why, but like, dang girl.
She's literally fighting the urge to kill him.
Yeah, like actively. Like, he's lucky he's not dead.
Yeah. I think he knows it too. He just,
for sure.
Knowing her, like he knows she probably wants to kill me right now.
Oh yeah.
So in this scene, Raeve may think that Mr. Sexy Smoking Stone is having a way with his words, but we know that Khan has actually suffered a great deal of grief after Elowen's passing, and I think this line describes the pain he felt and probably all the emotions he feels now that she is mysteriously back. Another example is, quote, because I was mourning someone I loved very much, I discovered my pa had done something unforgivable and I took her revenge because I thought she no longer could. Now I have regrets. I want to say that I think that this part is so important because we know that Raeve has such a taste for revenge and that the other is like such a big way of really expressing her revenge and really taking that revenge, you know, towards everybody else. And I think this is really important because I think Khan knows how important her revenge is to people who have crossed her. And he took her revenge for her when she died. And now he feels really bad that she's alive because he knows that's probably one of the things that she would want to have, especially towards his father, is that revenge for him for being involved in her death somehow. I think that this is really like cool. And I don't, really of course, we don't see this. We don't get this on the first read like, oh, he's just so sweet. But no, like actually like he's probably like shaking in his boots right now, like, don't kill me because I took your revenge.
Again. She's gonna murder me twice for this one.
But woo, I hope you ladies have a good grip on your undies because we're discussing some serious Khan-worthy moments right now.
Well, you know, I don't got a good grip on mine, and we're like 10 minutes in, or I don't even know how long.
All right, next we're going to talk about the almost sex scene that Kenna talked about earlier. So we do get a hint of spice during this stretch of chapters. Raeve is becoming blinded by her failure of gaining revenge for Essie's death, aka killing Rick. This is like her whole point of trying to escape Khan. She's trying to get her revenge on Essie's death. And she is adamant on escaping from our hot mystery man to do so. But as she is sneaking past a sleeping Khan on the couch, she is hit with a wave of familiar feelings. She is drawn to him and finds herself on his lap? What?
I love the energy we have right now.
We're supposed to be...
Damn, some good
Raeve, we're supposed to be out the door. She's on top straddling this man right now.
Can you blame her?
Badass Raeve is simping hard right now. Anywho, as juicy as this scene may be, it is an important turning point. Raeve is fighting with her conscience in this moment. She isn't in control, and these feelings are making her do things she didn't initially plan. Doesn't mean she isn't enjoying it though. Quote, this weird feeling gouges at my throat like a claw reaching up through layers of flesh, muscle, and sinew, fisting my trachea tightening its grip, choking me. I realized with the start that it's hesitation, end quote. So I think that this is also a very important turning point because we know that Raeve is a kill now, think later type of person, and she's really been fighting with herself to kill Khan. And I think in this scene, she's getting all these different familiar feelings that she probably has from her past life. And I think for the first time in her life, she's experiencing a moment of hesitation. I think it's really scaring her. And we're seeing like the little bits of ice chipping away from her heart. And I think that we knew a long time ago that Khan already has a special place in her heart, and so she's like really confused with these feelings and really trying to figure out, okay, what's going on. She's such an instinct type of person, so it's just probably like freaking out, like, why can I not kill this man? What's actually happening?
Yeah, her inner dialogue here, really with any moment of Khan and like majority of the book, you can just see her struggle, and it's like entertaining and it's also frustrating.
Yes. And side note, I do want to talk about remembering Kana's reaction to this scene.
Oh God.
We were in Colorado. Was it like June? Yeah, we were in Colorado in June, and we were at her brother's house, and we were sitting on the couch. And Kana started reading this book before me, and so she was reading it. And I remember she got to this chapter because she was like freaking out. She's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. She was like, wait, I think the enemies are becoming lovers. And like, she's like eating up this chapter. She's like super focused. And then she's like, okay, wait, never mind. They're still enemies. And I'm just like, okay. And I didn't even realize, I didn't understand what was going on until I got to this chapter. And I was like, oh, okay, that's what she was talking about.
God, it was Sarah A. Parker edging at its finest. Oh, I really liked the scene. I did not expect some spice this early, and I was not disappointed. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So another notable moment of foreshadowing about their relationship happens when Raeve is, taking in the view at the lake, looking at Khan's muscular body, noticing all his scars and burns, but also that he has Hayes Perch tattooed on him. In addition, there's one moon that is out of place in his constellation of tattoos. Quote, the biggest, a silver moon I've never seen before, perched just beneath his right shoulder blade beside my wonky little one. I frown. That one doesn't exist. Not anymore. That's the one that fell. End quote. My heart. So not only does he have it tattooed on his heart, and not only has he been hunting moon shards for the last 23 years, he has Slatra / Raeve and Illum / Hadian tattooed on his skin, a physical reminder of how big of a part Raeve played in his past life. Within this quote as well, we also get a confirmation that the giant silver moon that fell was Slatra, and that was also when Raeve hatched. Very cool. We get a sneak peek into the aftermath of Rave's death with an honest moment from Khan. When Raeve tells him he will wish he was dead, he replies, quote, there is only one thing that could take me back to that dark place, he mutters. Such a hard punch of honesty in his words that my heart stills. Some innate part of me pausing, listening, wondering. And I will never let that happen again, end quote. While Raeve is confused by both his words and her reaction to them, we learn just how dark Khan's life was after Raeve left and was subsequently murdered. He vows to never lose her again, and I'm just like dying over here. This man is so romantic.
Yes. Dude, I didn't even. So I'm realizing on my first read what I missed with his tattoo of her moon. I didn't even catch that. And that was such an Easter egg because I should have been asking, like, what is this? What's this moon? And I like just read over it and just didn't even think anything of it.
Yeah, on the first read, I was like, all right, he likes moons. So does she. They're for each other.
Literally.
All right. So time to talk about another foreshadowing topic. The many references to Rave's past as the Firelark. We know that the Scavenger King is a half-sibling to the Vagor brothers, and he's out for revenge. His brothers also don't know he exists. We know that he found Raeve after hatching and named her his Firelark, made her fight in his fighting rings, and he is also responsible for Fallon's death. So we don't get a whole lot of information on him other than his epilogue and some little info dumps here and there. By the end of the book, we also know that the Scavenger King possesses Kaisari and is intent on killing Khan and taking his place as the Burn King. So let's talk about these little foreshadowing tidbits. And we know how important this is with the relation that by the end of the book, he's planning on killing Khan and he has their daughter. So this backstory is super important to future books. Quote, My mind festers, thought churning at a ferocious speed, remembering another cell. Another time, a cell I was born into in my own strange way, bonded with its walls and the smell and the female I shared it with. I had something to fight for then, somebody I loved and cherished. All I've got now is a wounded heart and this ravenous hunger for revenge. So that's another reference to Rave's revenge. I know we just talked about this. And this quote particularly happens when Raeve is in jail, and she lets us know here that she is well practiced in the art of biding her time in a confined space. That was interesting to me when she was in jail. I was like, wow, her back is shredded and she like hasn't eaten. She's down bad and she was, coping pretty well. And so here we
Yeah.
know why is because after she hatched, the scavenger king found her and made her live in a cell. So this is not new to her at all. And here we are also really let into the reality of her time with the Scavenger King. She was likely in a cell for years, and later she also reflects that she learned to write post hatching with a piece of coal in her cell. Quote, every letter is a sooty ghost tilled from my past, but I refuse to let them beat me, end quote. Despite these experiences, we still see how strong Rave's will is, and that's really cool. When Khan speaks to Ignos in her cell and summons fire from the lantern, Raeve has a rather negative physical reaction. Quote, my spine stiffens, every nerve in my body tingling in all the wrong ways. Wanting the flame in his hand extinguished before it tills up any more of the hurt I've worked so hard to rid myself of. End quote. In addition, the Truth Tune joins this conversation in this scene to tell Khan that Raeve is petrified of fire. Before she can finish, Raeve cuts her off. When she considers attacking a guard in her cell but hesitates when she sees his red bead, we are again reminded of her torture and traumatic experiences with fire at the hands of the Scavenger King. She is terrified of it to the point where she would not try to escape, and we know that our girl probably would if she was given the opportunity.
I feel like her fear of fire is I think it's so important, and I feel like it's gonna be like something that we really learn about in later books, because for her to be such a fierce and fearless character and her have such a fear of fire, it's like, girl, what have you been through? Like, you are scared of nothing, but you're scared of fire.
I'm also curious for like future books. So later on, we learn that she can hear Ignos and wield fire. She obviously doesn't because she's petrified of it. But I kind of wonder in future books if part of her character development journey is going to be her overcoming that fear, or like in a moment where she's fucked and she needs to use fire, she overcomes that fear. So that's a prediction I have.
She would be so powerful if she just used all the elements. Like, she would be crazy powerful.
I don't think we've heard of anyone in this series so far that can hear 4 songs.
No.
I may be wrong. I'll have to go back and fact check that. But she's freaking powerful.
And even if there were someone who heard all 4, like, she's one of few, I'm pretty sure. If not the first, then one of very few people who can.
Yeah.
Another scene that references her past is when Khan asks her name in exchange for time spent in his mom's retreat. Quote, your name will do. Raeve thinks, my name. I open my mouth, shutting it as I reconsider, then shake my head and say, Raeve. All the color drains from his face. Quote, just Raeve? Another name sizzles through my soul like a burning scream. Firelark, firelark, firelark. Just Raeve, I say, stuffing the other down, far away, end quote. This is a very interesting scene because Raeve is both starting to share some information with Khan while simultaneously alluding the readers to her trauma of her previous name. I didn't really know how to quite interpret this scene, especially with the italicized firelarks. I didn't know if she was more so replaying the word, like the memory of being a firelark and being called firelark by the Scavenger King, or if she remembered a different name from her time as the firelark. I wonder if he might have mentioned her real name at some point and that's what she was thinking of, or if she was just thinking of the name firelark because it was just such a traumatic time for her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was kind of interesting that it was italicized because there's honestly not a lot of italics in this book. I don't know. I perceived it as it's haunting her and it's burned in her brain and she can't escape it. But I kind of like some of the theories you have.
I was like, I don't know really how to take this. Another interesting thing about this scene is Khan's reaction. quote, all the color drains from his face. So we found out later that Raeve is actually Elowen's middle name, and it becomes a mystery as to how Raeve even remembers this name, but has no recollection of her actual past life or her real name. Or did someone give her this name after she hatched? So there's like lots of mystery here.
That could be very interesting. I don't think the Scavenger King would know who she is because he found her after hatching. But I don't know. I'm curious if he named her Raeve knowing that she would later realize who she is.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or could it have anything to do with Fallon? Because she's a big
Hmm.
mystery too.
Yeah, she is. I need more info.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about our girl Slatra, aka the Other. Yeah. I love her so much. I don't know why. I just love her.
Yes. She's a dragon.
Yeah, there you go. That's the reason. So when Raeve comes to snatch Raeve from the Colosseum, he appears to be communicating with Slatra through Raeve without her consent in a totally different language that Raeve doesn't recognize. Quote, something blasts up from the depths of my shattering internal lake like a net that swallows my solid heart. Claws gore into the stony flesh, injecting me with a song that wrestles up my throat and sits on my tongue like a ball of icy flame, prying my jaw wide. It spills in rhythm with my galloping heartbeat, my serrated voice cutting through the din. A language not of the common tongue, but something different. The dragon blinks, head tipping to the side, while the foreign tune clumps against my teeth like fractals of frost and snow. End quote. I am convinced that Slatra and Ragan were like either besties or like dragon lovers, and you can't convince me otherwise. And I know we're not let in on their conversation here, but I was just like eating it up. I was like, what are they talking about? But Ragan is like, girl, you coming home with me. All right. I also want to talk about our almost spice scene where Slatra plays Cupid. This shows us again how deep Slatra's love for Raeve runs, and she is actively trying to make her face her trauma and push her towards Khan, who she knows is good for Raeve. Quote, my internal lake erupts, the complex bundle of discarded emotions spat back at me, splatting against my heart. I gasp, speared by the fire in Khan's eyes, by the pierce of feeling that just infected me like a disease, 10 times more potent than it was when I threw it away. So in this quote, Raeve is trying to bury down these feelings that are surfacing for Khan that are confusing her, and Slatra's like, nah, girl, deal with it. And also,
face it.
Get on it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes. I feel like Slatra is our own version of the cereal from Akatar.
Basically. She'd be giving
Dude,
the tea.
I said it right.
Say it one more time.
No, then there's no one to mess it up.
So, yeah, for our listeners, fans, me and Mackenzie were dying laughing for probably like 30 minutes because she could not say the cereal from Akatar. Like, she kept saying cereal. And then every time she would try and say it right, it would just sound like cereal in like a British accent. It was just... But I'm really proud of you for saying it right this time.
Thank you. I was like thinking of it while you were talking. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so scared to say it because what if I say it wrong?
You did it. All right. Let's move on from foreshadowing into our theories. And ooh, I have a big one to talk about today. And it revolves the Moonfalls and also connects to Kaisari. So I spent like an hour on TikTok just getting lost in theories, and there was so much good stuff out there. So this theory that I found on TikTok from at My Beloved Book Nook has me convinced that Kaisari is a big part of the Moonfalls. It involves the timeline, so let me lay it out. The last journal entry from Eluin, likely right before Kaisari was born and she was murdered, was at 5,042 phases, and we know that the first chapter from Raeve starts at 5,165 phases, with a difference of 123 phases in between. We know that Raeve has been awake for 23 phases, making her daughter Kaisari 123 years old, which is weird because her daughter is older than her. Weird. Right. But this means that Raeve woke up when Kaisari was around 100 years old. We also know that Kaisari cried so much as a baby that her nursemaids had to put an iron necklace on her, and she took it off at 18 but put it right back on because the wailing she was hearing was so intense. she didn't remove it for another 80 years. And I'm going to take a little leap and say approximately 82 years, because 82 plus 18 is 100 phases. So, going off this information, when Kaisari took off the iron necklace for the second time and learned Kalis's song when she was 100 phases old, that was right when Raeve and Slatra woke up, hatched. So, if Kalis was the reason the moons were falling originally and the other creators were right to blame it onto him, it's kind of indirectly Kaisari's fault. I don't want to say fault, it feels like the wrong word, but she was responsible possibly for the fact that Slatra fell from the sky and hatched Raeve. So if this theory is true, it's also possible that Kaisari is responsible for the other two moons that have fallen, both smaller and after Slatra fell. So I think that when Kaisari took off that necklace and started speaking to Kalis, she unknowingly caused her mom to hatch and probably caused the other moons that fell after to fall as well. She is still learning Kalis's language at this point in the story, but I am seriously considering this theory. I don't know if she knows, but it is possible that she does. I think it's more likely that she knows more about Kalis and the moons falling, or Kalis maybe using and manipulating her to set himself free. And I don't know how the moonfalls connect or if Kalis wants them to fall. I don't know yet, but stick with us. We're going to keep investigating this theory as we go through the book.
That is so interesting. I'm very interested to see and curious to see like how everything like ties together in the next two books.
Yeah.
Because there's so many different possibilities. And especially with the mystery of Kalis, because we don't really know much about him and we don't know much about the Aether Stone or about Kaisari. So I feel like all the mysteries, I'm so excited to see how she actually ends the story and ties everything together.
Yeah. All right. Another theory that I want to talk about is Uno's vision and Rave's destiny and how those connect together. So there was a lot happening in these chapters, and I felt like Uno's vision and the moon she drew on Raeve was kind of a throwaway moment, especially on a first read. But on my reread, I was like, hold up. I feel like this speaks volumes to Rave's destiny and her willingness to be sacrificed for the cause. We know from Raeve that Uno's visions can shift and sway, but I'm curious to know what exactly Uno saw. Is it just a witch hunt for the Fear du Oth members, or does her fate and the fate of the Elding / Shireen twine in a different sense? We can assume that Raeve and Khan have a great destiny together, and I am curious how the rebellion group, Fear du Oth, will play into this. And I seriously need more information about this Elding guy, woman, man. I think he's a guy. I don't know. But he's so mysterious, and we don't really get any information on him in the book. Before Uno leaves, she summons Raeve forward to draw on her face with coal. Quote, her bottom lip wobbles as she drags a piece of coal across my forehead. I immediately know the shape she's drawing, so thoroughly familiar with the moon I seek out in the sky whenever I'm looking towards the shade. This is right, she whispers. End quote. As readers, we know that Uno sketched Hayes' perch, but why? Why? And what did she see in her vision to prompt her to sketch this? I have several theories. Here we go. Number one, Hadian might be alive and may hatch in the same way that Raeve did, since a loom took him into the sky after his murder. Number two, Uno sees that Raeve is Eluin Navan and sketches Hayes' perch on her head as a reminder of who she is and where she comes from. 3, Uno doesn't understand the connection between Raeve and Hayes' perch, but her vision inspires her to draw it. Or, number 4, Uno just knows that Raeve loves that moon and looks at it all the time. I'm kind of convinced that it's more of a destiny thing. Her vision is alluding to Rave's destiny and going to help her in some way, but I don't know. It could be any of the 4.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking off first impression that people just know that Raeve loves the moon, but I feel like it is a lot deeper than just that. Like, I feel like there are other things that really helps Uno understand that Raeve and Hadian's moon have a connection. They're connected to one another.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Time for our favorite section, favorite moments and quotes. Let's hit it.
Yes.
All right. So my first favorite was Rave's trial for obvious reasons. So let's hit them highlights because this scene had me like literally cackling and saying, yes, ma'am, Raeve, you tell him. When she notices the King of the Fade did not make an appearance, she notes, quote, I was so looking forward to telling him he'd be better off shoveling Kolk shit than governing the Fade, end quote. And I believe she would have said it. Absolutely. And I just about died when she corrects the number of murders to 25, not 23, and makes sure to mention that she bit off Rex's finger. Cannot forget the finger food. Last but not least, she tells the fucking chancellor, quote, well done, you possess a brain cell. I glance up again, holding the chancellor's beady glare. I would cheer, but I'm certain you'll do enough of that this slumber while you're staring at your floor-length mirror, fisting your microcock. End quote. Just legend.
Literally.
Looking him in the eye while saying this, like, damn the consequences, is gangster as fuck. I love Raeve for this. So in this scene as well, I love that she is both telling the truth in addition to insulting all these assholes. So according to her, the situation is fucking tragic. And it really is. She uses her trial as a way to point out what is wrong with the king's rule and their society. So it's both smart of Raeve and also tells us how self-sacrificial she is. They could torture her or pick the worst execution method possible, which they do, but she damns the consequences and tells them how it really is in fabulous Raeve style. And I just love it. All right. My other favorite moment that I want to talk about is Khan and Rave's interaction. Different from our first episode, we really got to see a lot of them interacting, and the banter was just yummy. I was giggling when Ragan finally put Raeve down and she proceeded to throw up everywhere and then hysterically laugh. The picture in my head was so hilarious, and I wish I could see this on a screen. I don't know if it would ever get put as a show or a movie, but that was so funny. And so much happens in these next few chapters with them. There were so many favorite moments between them for me to include realistically, but let me list a few of my favorites. Raeve is so resistant to her natural inclinations to admire and trust Khan, making some delicious banter and occasional murder threats. Despite this hostile nature that she has, Khan really knows how to handle her, for lack of better words. He knows just when to return her sass with his own, how to get her to cooperate, and shows his intentions by treating her with a respect and gentleness, but also having a little bit of bite when he needs to. Quote, he unpins his cloak, pulling it from his shoulders, giving me an up-close view of the powerful way his broad, muscular body moves. My cheeks burn as he swathes me in the airy material, secures the pen beneath my chin, then flicks me on the nose. Adorable. Oh. I just love that. I was like, oh my gosh, so cute. He just flicked her nose. Another one of my favorite moments is when Raeve is struggling to eat her soup, and when Khan tries to help, she just freaking bites his forearm. Our feisty little assassin just won't accept his love, but I'm glad she bit him because of what happens next. He pushes her up against the wall, hands pinned above her head. He says, quote, you want to play rough, Moonbeam? We can play rough, but only after you eat, end quote. And I just died inside a little. This interaction is sweet. You can see how much he cares for her, and it's hot. She finally gives in to accepting his help and not biting him anymore, allowing him to spoon feed her some good soup. And the scene gets even better when the two share a laugh together. While it's short-lived, it is just precious, and Raeve admits, I've never laughed like this before. Not truly. I didn't know it could feel this good, end quote. Also, anytime he calls her Moonbeam, I just die inside a little, and I just think it's just so adorable. All right, I know I've been talking for a long time, but I have just one more favorite moment. And of course, it involves dragons. So her first proper dragon ride, loved it. Despite her freak out when he hauls her onto Ragan's back, it was such a beautiful moment when she settled down and felt freedom soaring through the sky. Instead of feeling that fear, quote, something tangible swells within my chest. Something that makes me want to spread my arms, tip my head, and release a belly-deep laugh that's raw and real and so fucking wholesome it makes me want to cry, end quote. I just freaking love this moment because at this point in the story, we are beginning to understand the gravity and the horrors that Raeve has experienced both before and after hatching. So despite everything she's gone through, she refuses to let it break her. While she may not cope with her trauma in the best way, as we have seen, she still feels, she still laughs, and she still wants to keep fighting. Also, I wonder if part of this feeling of freedom and joy is coming from Slotra. Curious. So while she is still alive through Raeve, she no longer possesses her dragon form and has not flown since she took Eluin to the sky. So this may be her joy at experiencing flight again for the first time in years.
Yes. I love all those
Yes.
scenes too.
Yes, I love them. There was so many I wanted to include, but I was just like, I gotta chill.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure you know this, Kana, but my first favorite part is, and it's freaking meeting Rhaegon. Like, what? I was so ready to meet a dragon, and
Yes.
Rhaegon was one of the first ones we would meet. I waited 20 plus chapters to read about a dragon, and now it's my time to shine.
Yes, ma'am.
I find the bonding between dragons and Fae here a bit similar to the bondings of dragons and humans in Fourth Wing. I think that Rhaegon is the perfect dragon for Khan. So you know how like in Fourth Wing when like they like basically bond with dragons that really complement their personalities and their characteristics and their instincts. I feel like this is the same kind of here.
Yeah.
Even though you have to go out and hunt the egg and help it hatch, I feel like literally the egg probably spoke to Khan like, pick me. Like, I don't know.
Oh my god. Yes. I can see that happening.
I feel like Khan and Rhaegon they complement each other so well, and Rhaegon is so snappy and impatient, and he takes no bullshit, just like Khan.
Yeah, I love it. He's perfect.
My next favorite moment is the kitchen scene, not the kitchen scene in a certain log cabin from a certain chapter 55, but the kitchen scene with Khan and Raeve after he rescues her from being dragon lunch. I think that this scene holds a lot of volume. We know that this is extremely hard for Khan to see Raeve because she's supposed to be dead, but he's still insistent on keeping her safe and taking care of her, which is so sweet. Yeah. Can we also talk about the fact that our favorite mystery man can cook? I feel like we just like totally overlooked that part. Like he's making her dinner. Literally.
And she was like, damn, the soup is good.
She was, yes, and she didn't want to admit it for real, but it was good. Mm-hmm. And like Kana said, I would love to highlight the moment when Raeve laughs with Khan and he is absolutely mesmerized by her. We know that Khan is really suffering and hurting here, and I think that him hearing her laugh is just making him miss so much and really just wanting to like speed up the process. Remember who you are. Like, I need you back.
Yeah. So. And also he's seen her up to this point as like a shell of who she once was. And so seeing her like actually like laugh like joyfully for the first time is probably healing in a way. Like she did laugh hysterically when she got off of Rhaegon, but that's not the same as like a joyful laugh in this scene. I feel like that was really important for him to see. She's still in there.
Right. Yeah, this moment made me laugh, but I also just want to cry for Khan because and Raeve, honestly, because when was the last time she actually like felt that type of joy? So
God, it's been a minute.
Yeah, I wish that we could have Khan's point of view in this moment just to see his exact feelings. And I hope we get more point of views from Khan in the other two books to see like how he's really feeling. And I hope that we get like his emotions throughout this whole process.
Yeah, I also want like a Kaisari Pav from the next few books.
I feel like we'll definitely get some Kaisari Pavs though.
I would hope so. Or at least just like more interactions. Although I'm not sure of what's going to happen, like how long she's going to be with the Scavenger King in the second book. It'll be interesting to see.
Other notable moments for me were all the diary entries during these special chapters. We get so many Easter eggs and background and foreshadowing these diary entries. We get a deeper understanding of why Raeve, aka Eluin, loves Hadian's moon so much. We also learn about some of the pain she experienced long before her death. These diary entries are preparing us to start making some real connections. I think by this time I was asking the right questions and I was getting closer to solving this big mystery. The diary entries really helped me because I knew there was some mystery while reading this book. And of course, Kana finished this book before me because she really eats books up in like days, not even. And the diary entries were like so many clues. And I'm just texting her like, oh my gosh, what does this mean? What does this mean? Like, what's going on?
You knew pretty early, like you connected pretty early that Eluin and Raeve were the same person.
I just was scared to say it for sure.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to be wrong. But I was like asking questions and
trust your
making the connections. Yeah.
All right. Time to move on to our myths and magic section. We're going to talk about any and all mythology connections we could find in these chapters. So the word Rooney, after some digging, I found out that it has Norse origins, meaning secret lore. Considering Roonies in this world know how to wield a secret set of symbols believed to be written by Kalis himself in an ancient tomb, this is definitely the secret lore only the Roonies are privy to. So that was an interesting connection there. Definitely feel like that's where she got it from. Another thing from what I found on the internet, the nickname Moonbeam that Khan uses for Raeve is of English origin, meaning a ray of light to the moon. So in the context of this world, this is like really beautiful. Raeve is literally a light to the many moons in the sky, her dragon, her brother, and all of that. That's our protagonist. I love that nickname that he calls her just because it's so sweet and romantic, but also I feel like it really captures who she is as a person. So that's sadly the only mythology connections we could find in these chapters. There was a lot of action, a lot of politics, and not a whole lot of world building. So hopefully we'll be able to find some other good stuff in future chapters.
I feel like all those are really good. I don't think I thought much about his nickname for her early on, but seeing it and reading the mythology behind it, it's kind of like really interesting. I like we learned a lot. At least I know I'm learning a lot. Just that I missed a lot on the first read. I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that. I was just trying to solve the mystery. I was missing all the Easter eggs.
Yeah, this is definitely a book that you have to reread to really and fully appreciate her writing.
All right, folks, time to move on to our magic portion where we will explain a world building aspect. Today we will be covering all things dragons. I love you Toothless. Okay. Every time I say dragons, I got to talk about Toothless.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with it.
In this book, dragons can be acquired either by charming them or raiding their nest for an egg to be hatched and raised by anyone brave enough to steal from a mama dragon. As cute as a baby dragon would be, this is basically kidnapping.
I mean, basically. It's kind of like sad. And the moms are trying to stop them. I'm like, damn. Can we maybe just try and charm an adult one?
Yeah.
All right. So first, let's talk about moon plumes. So for some reason, my brain can only picture the Light Fury from How to Train Your Dragon 3, and it fits perfectly with the description of them. So it's canon in my head. These cold-loving cuties live in the shade and are the most cunning of all dragons, making them the most difficult to charm. Challenge accepted. Their nesting grounds are in Netherin, the southernmost pole of the world. Their skin is leathery and luminous, coming in colors ranging from gray, pearl, iridescent, and white. Sounds so beautiful. With long tails like silken strands, their faces are round, necks long, creating an elegant shape. Their body does not adjust to hot weather or the sun, which can cause burns and blindness. Speaking of their eyes, they are described as black and glittery, which is interesting because Rek tells Raeve when she awakes from being the other, quote, "Your eyes are different. They were black earlier. Now they're blue." Further proof that Slatra, a moon plume, is the other. And I think that's so interesting that when Slatra takes control of Raeve, her eyes actually change color.
Yeah, I feel like there are a lot of characteristics that Raeve takes on in regards to Slatra, like her thirst for human flesh and blood. And again, I missed the freaking eyes seeing my first read. I probably highlighted it, but never just really had a second thought about it.
I just thought her eyes went like black with rage, but it's actually like the moon her coming out.
That's so interesting. I love that. All right. Saber-scythed dragons live in the burn, meaning that they love heat and do not adapt well to cold weather. Basically the opposite of a moon plume. With an aggressive and spirited personality, they can be almost as difficult to charm or steal an egg from. Coming in coats of rust, bronze, red, brown, black, or gold. God damn, that's a lot of coats. They are...
I think we're getting delirious at this point. It's kind of working. It's the content is contenting. That's the dumbest thing I've ever said.
It's fine. It's fine. They are covered in spiked scales and heavily tusked faces. Fierce. Their nesting grounds are in Gundra.
Sure. We're gonna roll with it. I don't know. This was not in the pronunciation guide.
God darn it. Their nesting grounds are in Gundra, I'm going to assume that's how you say that, directly beneath the sun and near a whole load of volcanoes for maximum heat. Oh boy.
Yeah, they're spicy boys. Molten maws are the most vibrant of the dragons, basically giant scary birds. So they're covered in feathers that are a vivid blend of colors, and they also have a sharp beaked face. Unlike their two sister dragon breeds, they can live and travel anywhere in the world and are also the easiest to charm or steal an egg from. Their nesting grounds reside in Boggith, a place in the Fade that is described as a boggy wasteland. They are also known to enjoy a live snack from a nearby coliseum. Oof. Too soon? Outside of specific species of dragons, there are a lot of tidbits of dragon info dropped throughout the book. Despite dragons having eternal life, their blood was spilled in conquest and likely greed to obtain dragon bloodstone, which is the currency in the book, mined from areas where dragon blood has been spilled. It also can be ground up and consumed for its medicinal properties, as Mackenzie learned in our trivia in our last episode. Gotcha.
I did.
So after a time, dragons began to fly into the sky when they feel like their time has come to an end, or when they are victims of Fey wars, curling into balls and calcifying into moons. Some, unfortunately, do not make it into the sky, dying on the ground until fossilization, after which they are mined for the dragon bloodstone, except in the burn. We stand Khan for many reasons, and this is one of them. According to him, quote, mining it promotes spilling it, end quote. For reasons we do not fully understand yet, some of the moons do fall. We know that there have been 3 documented moonfalls since history was written. One of them was an adolescent saber scythe, barely 3 phases old, that fell within the Volcanic Plains. The second, a molten maw that destroyed a section of the wall. And the other one was a large moon plume, the first to fall in more than 1 million phases. Quote, the beast shone with the light of 1,000 moons before gravity lost its grip on the thing. Before it fell, bursting into a litter of shards that blasted a crater within the shade so large a city could dwell within its dimpled depth. We now know that this was Slotra and Raeve, and for 20 phases, Khan has been hunting the moon shards diligently. We also know that the Scavenger King possesses some of these moon shards from, I'm assuming, when he found Raeve after hatching. And last, another fun bit of Dragon Wiki is that they can also go rabid, and their bonded riders have to check them for ticks. So if a tick is left unattended, the toxin released will turn a dragon rabid, causing them to torch cities and slay everything in its path. And I gotta say, I kind of hope this isn't foreshadowing for future books. I feel like it might be. I just felt like important for information to include, you know?
Yeah. I feel like this was such a small piece of information that was kind of thrown in there. And yeah, now that you say it, I'm like,
Yeah. I
what's
don't
about to
know.
happen?
Because we know later on that Khan has to go hunt a rabid dragon. So it does connect to later in the book, but I also feel like maybe this would be like a big event in a future book.
When I first talked about the ticks in the book, all I could picture in my head was like a raccoon with rabies just going nuts. That's all I thought about.
Yeah, basically. All right. Time to close up our Myths and Magic and head into our mini-series Mix and Match, where Kenzie and I will do 2 to 3 different mini-series unique to our podcast each week. The first one we are going to open with is 2 each would you rather questions posed to each other and you as fans and listeners. So let us know, what would you rather do? Kenzie, you want to go first?
Sure. All right, Kena and
Yes.
listeners,
Yes.
would you rather be on the receiving end of Rave's revenge or be burnt to death by a dragon? Well,
Ooh.
scorched to death, I guess I should say, by a dragon.
Yeah, roasted alive. I think I would rather be scorched because I feel like it would be faster. Well, I don't know. I feel like if Raeve was going to kill me, she would have to have a really good reason, and she would probably take her time and make it painful. So I'm going to go with death by dragon because also
It's the
dragons.
fact that, yeah, same.
Yeah.
I would rather be killed by a dragon than get on Rave's bad side. And that says a lot.
Yeah. We know that she likes to slice and dice. And we know what she did
Yeah.
to Tark. And yeah.
Yeah. All right. Would you rather marry Tyroth or bear the Aether Stone?
Ooh, man, this is a tough one. Honestly, I would go with marrying Ty Roth because I feel like I could kill him, but the Aether Stone, I don't trust Kalis one bit, and it literally sucks your soul out. So
Yeah.
I'll take my chances with Ty Roth and just slit his throat in his sleep. Go straight gangster on his ass. What about you?
I don't know. I think I would bear the Aether Stone.
Damn.
I feel like I don't know. I'm interested. I feel like bearing the Aether Stone, yes, it's a struggle and it does suck the life out of you, but I feel like you have to be of a certain bloodline and you have to hold a certain amount of strength to even bear it. And I think that possibly people who bear it might be probably some of the most powerful people. And I think we get like proof of that with Raeve. So I don't know.
Well,
I
you're
don't
really
know.
taking a risk there, but you go, girl. I like it. All right, time for my would you rather questions. Would you rather take a ride on Rygun or take a trip to the Healing Lake with Khan? Dragon
This is
ride?
so obvious.
Tall, dark, and
Dragon
handsome.
Ride.
Oh my god. You're right, I would choose it too.
So easy.
Is this even a question? Damn, but I mean, like, come on. You don't know
Rafe
what
can
can
have
happen
them.
in that lake.
I want Rygon.
Okay. I would ride Rygun and make him like me, and then I'd be like, tell your owner that I'm cool as fuck. And then we would fall in love. That's it. All right. Would you rather be a Rooney and have multiple abilities or be able to wield just one elemental song of your choice?
Of my choice. It's what got it.
Mm.
I don't know. This is reminding me like what are the like Dragon Riders versus Scribes? Yes. This is kind
Yeah,
of
but the
like reminding me
Roonies
of
are way
like
more badass. They can be like blood laces
that's
or
what I'm
pulse
saying. This is kind
threads
of what it's reminding me of.
and
And this is
healers
kind of
too.
like yeah. I feel
Okay,
like
I
maybe
get
a
you.
Rooney though. Because I feel like they're more useful. I feel like I'm
Probably.
the type of person I wouldn't be out just killing people, so I don't think I would need an elemental song. Like I just it's just not me. I'm sorry.
Are
Like
you sure?
props to you, Ray.
I don't know. I feel like
Props.
I would want to wield an elemental song. I just feel like that's so cool that you're able to speak to a creator and learn their language.
Yeah.
Like, even if you're not using it to kill people, you could probably fucking do some other things.
What's so funny if you're not like causing harm with this song? I don't know. I feel like for me personally, I would be more useful as a Rooney.
All right, at least you know yourself. All right, next section. We're going to do fan casts for our favorite characters, and I'm going to start off. For Raeve, my fan cast, and I don't know how to say this fucking last name. Should have looked up the pronunciation beforehand. It's Marie Avgeropoulos. This is definitely not right, but we're going to roll with it. So for anyone that has watched the 100, she is Octavia in that show. And I absolutely loved her character. She was a supreme badass, and her character development throughout the show, I loved it. And I can just see her portraying that fierce side and that emotional depth of Raeve as well. And she's also got like the dark hair and she's gorgeous. I see it. For Khan, I think Can Yaman would be a perfect depiction of him. He has that tall, dark, and handsome look, that kind of long hair, the beard, and he also has a realness and kindness to his eyes that kind of balance the brutality, the muscled body, which is exactly how Khan is described. And I have also seen him suggested as a Cassian fan cast, and I feel like he fits Khan more, but the two are really similar, so it could go either way. As soon as I saw silver hair, I just knew that Millie Alcock would be the perfect fan cast for Kaizari. I fell in love with this actress watching House of the Dragon and was sad when she left the show and Emma Darcy took over, although I'm obsessed with her as well. If you haven't watched House of the Dragon, this is your sign. She is a princess as well in House of the Dragon, and Millie Alcock is fierce, and I also think it would work with Marie being fan cast as her mom. They don't look super alike, but it works. Also, random side note, what the heck is up with the silver hair? We know that Khan and Raeve have dark hair, so where did the silver hair come from? Is it from the Aether Stone? I don't know if she's had silver hair from birth. I was trying to find that in the book earlier. I don't know, but it seems like she maybe has like a special chosen one vibe. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure.
Yeah. I didn't even think about that. And it's crazy because as we were making the fan cast for this podcast, we both didn't realize that Kazari had silver hair. We both overlooked that major detail early on. Kenna was like, Kazari has silver hair. And I was like, girl, what?
We were like,
Shoot.
huh?
What?
I didn't
don't
even
know.
notice until I was on my third reread.
Dang.
So that's embarrassing.
Well, for Raeve, my fan cast is Phoebe Tonkin. Phoebe has starred in many supernatural / fantasy shows and movies, a couple of examples being Vampire Diaries and the originals. Her character in these shows portray a fearless young adult who takes no BS from anyone else. In her appearance in the Vampire Diaries, she is surrounded by powerful vampires, werewolves, and witches, but she never fails to stand her own as a less powerful werewolf. She's feisty and quick-witted. Also, the black hair and just her whole persona just reminds me of Raeve as well. And also, I'm obsessed with the Vampire Diaries. So that was the first cast I went to go look at, was the Vampire Diaries cast.
Of course.
And then for Khan, this is probably not anywhere close, but the first person I thought of was Jason Momoa because the beard and the hair.
Close. I feel like that could be for sure. But
I was like, I don't know how close it is.
In my brain, Jason Momoa is Cassian, and then Khan is Can Yaman. I don't know why. I just feel like Cassian is bigger and hotter. Sorry, Cam.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. The only reason that was really making me like hesitate about choosing him was how big and tall Jason Momoa was. And I don't know, I pictured Khan as a little bit shorter and maybe not as broad as Jason. But like the beard and the hair kind of works. And obviously his role in Game of Thrones kind of swayed this decision. Yeah. I also think that he could probably fit this role a little bit better like 10 years ago. He's getting older. He's looking a little bit different now. But he's all man with a sexy, broody complex. He fits the dark, mysterious character perfectly. For Kaizari, I chose Zoe Saldana. Zoe has starred in fantasy and sci-fi movies, one of them being Guardians of the Galaxy. Zoe is also a very fierce character who tends to love hard. I think that this is perfect for Kazari because, like her father, she holds lots of compassion for the things and people that she loves the most. But like Raeve, she's fearless and a very powerful character.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't feel right if I didn't cast Essie. R.I.P. to our girl Essie. I'm going to assume her name is Isla Fisher. I think that's how she says her name. Is it Isla?
I don't know.
Well, she starred in Wedding Crashers and Now You See Me. So I hope that helps listeners and watchers picture her. I think Essie is a more soft-spoken character, but she's also one of the smartest people that we get in this stretch of chapters and just in the book period so far. And she was such a great friend to Raeve, so I feel like this character will fit her the most. And she has red hair, of course.
Yeah,
so.
I can see that for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Finishing up with our third mini-series, what are we as hosts reading now? My brain is crazy. And I'm usually reading, rereading, or listening to multiple books at once. I like to hop around 5 to 7 books a month. It's kind of crazy. As of now, I am doing a reread of Quicksilver by Callie Hart and loving it to prepare for our coverage of it. I'm slowly reading Fire and Blood by George R.R. Martin. It kind of reads like a history book so far, and I actually love it more than I thought I would, but it's taking me a while because it's just like massive info dumps on Targaryen history. It's my first George R.R. Martin book, and I cannot wait to read Game of Thrones and the rest of the stuff. I'm excited. Lastly, I'm also reading Way of Kings, which I love, 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 love. I've had it recommended to me like a bajillion times, and I'm finally getting to it, and I love it so far. It's epic fantasy. And then I'm also listening to the dramatized Fourth Wing audiobook for probably the 20th time. So if you love the Empyrean, definitely give the dramatized audiobook a try because, wow, it feels like you're actually at Skyeth with a full voice cast and all the wonderful side effects, including the dragon sounds. It's awesome.
Well, I tried to get my shit together before this episode, but I am slumping real bad right now, y'all. I'm slumping real bad. So technically, I'm not reading anything right now. I'm supposed to be reading Quicksilver by Callie Hart, but for some reason, I cannot pick up a book and like actually have the like urge to read. Granted, like the past few weeks have been kind of rough, but I usually like to read no matter what's happening.
I hope you get out of your slump soon, because I'm dying for you to read Quicksilver.
But yeah, I just have no desire to read at the moment, and it actually really sucks. I'm like so ready to get out of the slump. But if I were reading something, it would be Quicksilver. I tried to pick up and reread Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. Didn't get very far. And I'm on like 50% through the last book of the LC Silver Cowboy Romance series. I forgot the name of the series already. But I made it to 50% like maybe 3 weeks ago and never picked it back up. So yeah.
The one you were reading in like June?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's the one. Actually, no. I finished that one. I finished the third and the fourth one while I was out of town, and then I picked up the fifth one, and I can't get into it. So,
well, rip. All right, everybody, pray that Mackenzie gets out of her reading slump soon.
Please.
All right,
please.
We are done with our mini series, and we're gonna hit this trial by trivia. So each week, Mackenzie and I will give each other and our listeners 2 trivia questions. At the end of our When the Moon Hatched coverage, we will tally who has the most points between hosts. Loser will have to do something embarrassing or funny that the winner or you guys as listeners come up with. We would love to hear your feedback, ideas, and participation in the section. Before we know it, we are all going to have a motherfucking PhD in When the Moon Hatched. All right, yes. Kenzie, hit me with your first question. I've never been more ready.
All right, let me go to my notes. I'm hitting everything but the notes app. All right. I feel like my questions are kind of easy. Which brothers rule over which cities?
I got this. Tyroth Vagor, King of the Shade. Kadok Vagor, King of the Fade. And Khan Vagor, King of the Burn.
Okay.
I read this book 3 times. All right. What is the Queen of the Fade's name?
Fuck.
I'll give you a hint. It starts with a D. It's an obscure name. It's only mentioned once. I'm so evil.
You are.
I don't know with these trivia questions.
Yes. I don't know.
Right. Her name is Dorothea. I think that's how you say it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, whatever. No.
Damn.
Like my second question is also easy, and I feel like you're gonna get this. But like the question I have in my head, I don't even know the answer to. So like, would it still count?
Fuck it. Sure.
Okay. What kind of soup did Khan make, Raeve?
Vegetable soup with spices and
I don't
shit?
know.
He was like gathering the vegetables. Can I get like...
Yeah, but what kind of vegetables?
I think like
they specific. Okay, I'm going back to my original question because that was too easy. My original question was, what clan was Khan a part of?
The Jokul clan.
Yeah. When you put it in the summary, I was like, dang it, she's going to get it when I answer that later.
Damn, these questions are hard as fuck. I'm trying to think of which one you might get because I feel bad. Damn. How many Aurora cycles / years is an eon?
For cycles, I'm going to say 500,000.
No.
Damn.
It's 100,000.
Oh, I knew it was 100,000s. Okay. Damn. I feel good about that.
I feel good that you at least had an educated guess.
Yeah. At least I didn't say like 100, because then you'd be like, what?
You'd be like, damn, girl. I'd be like, damn, girl. All right, guys. That's a wrap. Thanks for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed our second episode and appreciate your continued support in our early adventure.
Yes, and join us next Thursday for a brand new episode where we will be covering chapters 37 through 54, pages 295 through 447 for your reread or to refresh your memory.
As always, we appreciate any and all feedback from our wonderful listeners. Please reach out to us on our socials. Tell us what you liked, what you didn't, or just reach out if you want to talk all things When the Moon Hatched. This is, again, a little baby podcast, and we would like to see it grow with your help. So please take the time to leave us a review, follow us on social media and all major podcast platforms for a freshly baked episode to be delivered to you directly next week.
Bye, friends. See you next week.
Bye, lovelies. Take care of yourself and take care of others.